Hey everyone, so Matt Virzi here. I manage our mid-market and enterprise business, so I work with some of our larger customers at Klaviyo. I've been with Klaviyo for just about 5 years now, so if you have Klaviyo questions, I can probably help if any of you guys use us. I'm excited to be on this panel today with some experts, some industry insiders, and some great brands. So today's topic, we're just going to talk quickly about how to cut through the noise and acquire customers with the rising cost of acquisition. And I'll let you guys just do quick intros about your brand and yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Marvin. I have a company called Haus. We're an online liquor store. So if you guys are interested in rare and hard to find bottles and wine and spirits, you can come to our site and we deliver to 42 states.
I'm Nagourney. I'm the Vice President of Growth at Perelel Health. We are an OBGYN-founded supplement brand with targeted nutrition for each phase of a woman's reproductive life cycle.
Cool. I'm Jason Ojalvo, the CEO of Tushy. I'm not the founder, but I was brought in about 5 years ago to help scale the business, raise money, hire a team, et cetera, and we sell bidets and other beautifully designed bathroom products.
Awesome. Cool. And so with the topic of the day being how to optimize your cost per acquisition, let's start by talking about how each of you measure CAC and what some of your overall goals are related to CAC. So we can just go down the line or whatever you guys prefer.
Yeah, we have a pretty high average order value, so we're okay with a bit of a higher CAC, but it really just depends on the season of things. If it's our down season and CAC is super, super high, then we just try to focus more on email, SMS, affiliate, and more high ROI channels. But when it's Q4 and Christmas and whatnot, it's pretty much 80% of our spend is all paid media. So that's our focus.
Awesome.
We look at both paid CAC and blended CAC, and we always look at CAC relative to LTV. Similar, we have a pretty high LTV for our customer. We specialize in prenatal vitamins, so usually she's with us for her whole pregnancy and stays with us after into postpartum. And our goal really is to kind of always monitor and look at that CAC to LTV ratio and make sure that's really healthy. Everything we do kind of quarter to quarter and which channels we're investing in is dependent on that. And I would just add also, not only do we look at those like kind of two overall numbers, but we're also looking by channel. So we do attribution modeling, where we use a post-purchase survey and Google Analytics in addition to platform data. And we're trying to kind of like monitor that platform level performance.
Very cool. And like for you, what's like a good ratio on those? Does it change over time or is it?
We really like to be above 3. We're very happy when we're at 5.
Okay.
And we're kind of like monitoring. We're kind of oscillating between there.
Cool.
Since we raise money.
Jason?
Yeah, so we look at blended ROAS and try to hit a 3 as well. And when you look like channel by channel, it's really, and I'm sure everyone here knows, it's all over the map. So sometimes it's astronomically high, and sometimes it's extremely inexpensive. And it really has to do also that's combined with like the channel as well as where in the funnel it lands. So we do very kind of distinct marketing and advertising of top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel. And so for us, the life cycle to get someone to become a Tushy customer, like we're not a pair of shoes or a sweater, like, oh, I know what that is. I know what a coffee maker is, but like it's a bidet. And so I was like, how does it work? Why do I need it? How long is it going to take me to install it? What are the benefits? Are people going to think I'm weird? So like there's a lot to go through. So top of funnel for us is quite expensive, and we're just pouring people into that. But then we know that we eventually convert once the middle funnel sort of tells them more of the benefits, and then bottom funnel is like close them on Google search and shopping.
Do you have like a bidet to bathroom ratio that you can look at?
Hopefully it's 1-to-1. And our goal is to be in every American bathroom. And we certainly see that customers who buy one often then if they have a second bathroom, they'll buy a second one. A third bathroom, they'll buy a third, because nobody wants to use the bathroom that does not have the Tushy installed. Like we know that for a fact. It's like the least popular bathroom if it doesn't have a Tushy.
Love that. Cool. And at Klaviyo, we kind of feel that first and zero-party data and own channels are super important in controlling your destiny as a brand, and especially with like ad costs going up and up and up. I guess I'm wondering across the panel here, like, how do you guys leverage first and zero-party data as part of your paid acquisition strategy? And do you have any like recommendations for anyone who's looking at using that type of data in that strategy?
I honestly consider any successful email or phone number that we get a successful conversion.
Awesome.
Because I know that eventually either 3, 6, 12 months down the line, we're going to end up selling that customer on something. So that's kind of my strategy there. It may not be worth the $50 or $60 in the short term, but if we end up converting that customer later on, it's worth it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, we recently launched a quiz, which I guess we'd consider zero-party data. So we launched a quiz a few months ago that has an integration with Klaviyo. It was this was not planned, but it was the most important thing that I personally looked at when we're on Shopify, when choosing the provider we were going with, that there was an integration to build a flow through Klaviyo. And so we find that to be a really important part of our acquisition strategy, is bringing people that visit our site into our journey, not just like kind of shopping around to find products that work for them, but really like bringing them through the experience we want them to go through by asking them questions about their body or their symptoms or their feelings and guiding them to the right products. And even if right now isn't the right time to buy, we know we have a flow set up to kind of guide them through and kind of be top of mind for them. And we're always trying to optimize that. So we just have right now 2 emails set up, but our plan is to build that out. So there's different kind of flows for each customer or potential customer based on how they've answered the quiz. And we can curate that content or curate the messaging based on how they answered when they came to our site.
Cool. And Jason?
Yeah, we handle it similarly in that sense. We try to learn as much about our consumers, and we don't just communicate with them over email and SMS through our site. Like a lot of our customers end up buying through Amazon or Walmart, and I know at first people are like, oh, you got to control the customer, you got to control the data, but I feel like as long as more than half or at least around half buy through our site and we communicate with them directly, like we'll learn a ton. And then we can use that information to help us sell to the, through Walmart and Amazon and such.
Cool. Yeah, and actually we were planning to talk about marketplaces as well, but since you brought it up, why don't we just talk about that quickly?
Sorry, I jumped in.
No, absolutely. How do you guys all use the marketplace, and how do you view that against your acquisition costs? How do you measure it, and kind of what impact does it have on that overall?
We sell other people's brands, so we technically are a marketplace, but we can't sell them on Amazon or something like that. So we just do what we do.
Yeah, you do what you do. You are the marketplace. Got it.
Yeah.
And Alex, do you leverage marketplaces at all?
No, we're D2C, and we do everything through our own site, and we make our own products. So a pass on this one.
No, all good. Yeah, it sounds like you have the most experience with this, Jason. So how do you view marketplaces as a part of that CAC strategy? Is that factor in a ton for you guys?
For us, it's strategically it's fish where the fish are, and it's difficult enough to get people to change their bathroom habits and lifestyle and buy a Tushy. So we appreciate that, and so if you're gonna be on Amazon shopping, great, we'll take what we can get. So we're happy to do that. And would you have a second half of the question?
Was there any challenges related to marketplaces that are particularly pertinent that you try and manage yourself as a brand? I know with first party data, obviously you're not going to get a ton of that from marketplaces. So are there challenges related to that you have for measurement or optimization of marketplace?
Yeah, I mean it does sometimes seem like a bit of a black hole. We'll have amazing days on Amazon, but why did that happen? Versus our own site, we can control that extremely well. And we know, okay, we're going to do this campaign, and we're going to run these ads, and we know, and so it's very predictable. Whereas you lose that on Amazon. But then on the plus side is when you become when you become a preferred merchant there, because we do well, and Amazon also knows that Tushy drives a lot of their bidet category. Mm-hmm. So you go to Amazon, you think you want a Tushy, and you might get peeled off to some competitor of ours, like a Tushy imitator, right. They call them. And so we just have to accept that. But the good news is, for us, Amazon appreciates that, and they'll come to us with special deal of the day offers or incentives to expand globally with them, because they know that we're driving that piece of business for them.
Cool. And do you have add-on products as part of Marketplace, or is it just your core product that's on Marketplace?
Yeah, good question. We we're particular about what products we offer in each marketplace. So, on Amazon for years, we only sold our most popular bidet product. And then little by little, we're like, oh, let's add, this other bidet product. And then we have something called the Tushy Ottoman, which is sort of like a squatty potty, but it's not ugly. It's like this gorgeous version, like artistic version of the squatty potty. And then we also have bamboo toilet paper. So the idea is, what do you dry with after a bidet? People say, well, you still need toilet paper. Well, for us, A, you use 80% less toilet paper, and B, let's not chop down trees to make it. Let's save the forest. So we make ours with 100% bamboo.
Cool.
And we actually designed that product specifically for bidet use, so it's almost more like a paper towel. Like it is super absorbent, so you only need a few pieces. And so anyway, so we sell that in some of the marketplaces as well.
Beautiful, awesome. So as far as channel mix, like if you view marketplace as a channel, what other? So you have your direct website. And then for marketing purposes, you have paid, you have like email, SMS. Like what do you guys view? Like how do you kind of make up your overall channel mix, and how do you leverage each channel differently? Like top of funnel versus middle of funnel versus conversion and retention.
It's changed so much for us when we started during COVID. So it was perfect time to buy alcohol online and get it delivered to your doorstep. So we were all paid media. I was just telling them that when we first started, for every $100 that we spent on paid media, we got 3,000 in sales. So we just kept doubling and tripling and quadrupling our ad spend. It was wild, and that kind of lasted like 6 months, and then we started to kind of mix in some email, some SMS. Today, it's majority email, SMS, affiliate, our own website, our app, but paid media just isn't the right fit for us unless it's Q4. So we've been navigating that.
Awesome. And Alex?
One of the biggest metrics we look at for success is the percentage of sales that are coming through paid, or the percentage of sales that are attributed to paid. And we really don't like that number to be high. So everything we're doing always with channel mix is to optimize for that number to be as low as possible. I used to work at Netflix, and so that number was 10% because everyone has heard of Netflix. For us, we're kind of the opposite of Tushy, where 97% of pregnant women know they need to take a prenatal vitamin. And so everything they're doing is actually just researching the right one to take. And like a lot of women need to do that research on their own. Like, what are all these ingredients and how do they mix together and what's the right, most credible brand to buy from? So we really need to kind of like figure out the right channels where we can go really deep on that messaging and education. And that's usually not an ad, that's usually an email, or it's like through our blog or SEO. And then we need to find the right channels where we can be a little bit more like salesy or hard hitting, and we can be, a little bit bigger with a discount or a little bit louder. So I think we're kind of trying to optimize in those ways. And then within paid, we just do a lot of testing. We do a lot of creative testing on Meta. We do a lot of testing with Google and the way that we structure our search ads and our paid ads and the way we kind of set up different ad sets. And then we've done a lot of testing with TikTok, and we're always kind of like on and off trying to figure out the right way to refresh creative, the right creative to media mix, like amount of spend, and mix how to leverage creators and influencers on different channels. So each channel, I guess, has its own piece, but for us, it's a lot about like figuring out the right creative and the right messaging.
Cool, awesome. And Jason?
Yeah, so for us, we'll look at like top of funnel being Meta, and then bottom of funnel would be like Google search shopping, and then in the middle, it's sort of a mix of both. Yeah. But then certainly for us, email is extremely important. SMS, like our campaigns do extremely well. According to your stats, it's like, oh wow, these guys are doing really well. And like Attentive, who we work with, they're kind of blown away by our open rates. And so we create content for the users that's like useful and fun and weird and the kind of things that they want to share. And then the other channel that we take advantage of a ton is around PR. So we make sure that we're in like every gift guide possible. So like, every day the PR company will send me like 5 new gift buying lists that we're on, which is great. And then we do some crazy PR stunts, which get us a lot of coverage. Like I'm literally flying from here up to Toronto, where we're taking over an art gallery tomorrow with basically you're going to go into this art gallery and there's going to be like 6x6 giant photographs blown up of people's buttholes in this really artsy way. And the idea is, so we'll get a lot of press for it. It's very
awesome.
just the way we roll, and do things that are outrageous and kind of toe in the line. But the idea is the owners of these buttholes are activists because they all use Tushy, and they're saving the Canadian boreal forest because they're not using toilet paper, which most of the toilet paper comes from the Canadian boreal forest. So we're calling these people activists and having them show their activist buttholes off. But it's really tasteful and beautiful, and the photographer did an amazing job. And you're like, people are like, I want to hang this on my wall. Can I have that one? Can I have that one for my wall? And so that's a good sign.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
So the PR channel for us is huge.
Yeah, and speaking of like sort of organic, like I mean, the biggest thing that most brands strive for is sort of that organic word of mouth kind of amplification of your whole brand, so that you end up having to pay less on paid. So I'm curious if that same sort of concept applies to either of you as well. Like, how do you kind of amplify your voice organically, if at all?
For us, I think so. A huge part of our brand is like and this comes from our co-founders, Alex Taylor and Tori Joya, and they spend a lot of time thinking about, our mission, which is to build a world with more healthy, supported women, and our voice and our tone. A lot of our brand comes to life through community events, whether that's like a meetup with doulas or birthing coaches, or it's leveraging our panel of doctors, or doing, a podcast or an Instagram live with amazing women, some of whom are here today, that we admire and love their brands as well, Fortuna Skin. And so I think a lot of that isn't as measurable as everything else. It doesn't immediately show up in conversion rate. It doesn't immediately show up in revenue from email. But that kind of in-person events, activations, having these like the consistency in brand voice and feel and tone and building community is really important for us to have that word of mouth where you're making your customer really feel like this is the best choice for a woman in her body. And that's ultimately our goal when we're trying to drive a conversion.
Awesome. And because we were talking about this earlier, being in the alcohol space, are there any specific challenges related to being in like the shaft space that
Absolutely.
That have come up for you recently?
They're very costly challenges too. I think so in the alcohol space, especially in like from a direct to consumer standpoint, a lot of the laws surrounding alcohol were made during the Prohibition era. So I call it like pilgrim shit. You can help with the shit. So it's kind of been hard to navigate like which states allow it, and there's a big gray area and whatnot. So we've had to spend many six figures over the course of our 3 years in business on legal fees to kind of figure out what states to ship to and what not to ship to. Right now we're in 42, and on the digital side of things, even advertising in some of those states is considered illegal. So we really have to like push back on the messaging, and sometimes we don't even include the word alcohol or bourbon or booze, and we just try to keep it simple. And I think that adds to like the classy appeal that we're trying to go for, but at the same time, it's hard to drive that sale and that conversion. We're not advertising just to advertise. We want to make some money. So that's been our struggle.
Makes sense. Yeah, and definitely feel that across things like SMS, which, again, there's laws, there's carrier restrictions. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of things at play. And so as far as channels that you guys, what would you view as your top performing channel if you had to pick one?
Klaviyo, we spent $13,000 last year. We got 821 in sales. SMS, we spent 9,000, got over 300,000 in sales. And that was that was the year we actually started to like take it seriously, because the first few years were like just buy revenue as much as you can because we were getting such a good return. And so I would say those two are great. Affiliates also awesome.
Sweet. And Alex?
By CAC, measured by CAC?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
So for us, we ran a test. So we've implemented this strategy recently, which is we've actually turned off all brand marketing spend. So we no longer spend on Google search for people who are searching for Perelel. We just assume if you're searching for us, you're going to click on us anyway, or find us whether we're a sponsored post or not. We do pay for misspellings because everyone thinks it's Perelel or Perelel or it autocorrects. So non-brand spend with our specific ad set strategy on Google has been really efficient for us, which is interesting because obviously brand spend is the most efficient as measured by CAC, but we assume those people aren't incremental. They're going to buy anyway. And then Facebook is pretty expensive, but we are pretty efficient there relative to what we've heard some other brands spend, and that's really driven by our creative strategy. Obviously own channels, so email is really important and significant for us. And then TikTok, we haven't yet cracked. We're really seeing TikTok as driving clicks, but not as efficient at driving purchases. And we can kind of leave creative up on Meta for 3 months if it's a top performer, and it lasts for 3 weeks on TikTok. So we need to kind of figure out the right creative refreshing cadence on TikTok, but we're not really seeing that as productive on sales.
So attention span on TikTok low.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jason?
Yeah, I mean, for us, dollar for dollar, Google search and shopping are great because people are looking for a bidet or a bidet attachment, and we're there. But the only reason they can be so low and in the $10-ish range is because we're spending way more on Facebook and Instagram. So it's kind of it's an easy question to answer, but you don't really get a lot out of it because you can't do one without the other. And similar with Amazon, the reason our costs are so low when we advertise on Amazon is just because we're spending all money to build the brand. So for us, it's really just this total blended number that we have to get to through every channel. And we just started experimenting with OTT. We're about to do some stuff, do some marketing in direct mail, and pretty confident that that'll do well for us as well. But those are newer channels because we spent the last 7 years exhausting everything else.
How much research do buyers do for bidets? Because they're you guys are, I would say, a newcomer in the bidets. It's been around for a long time, but globally, not in the U.S.
Yeah.
Do you find that the research phase is more immediate for you guys in the U.S. than I feel like it's been around a lot in Europe and whatnot, so it'd be a different type of buyer and different.
Yeah, we definitely stratify the consumer. So there's some who either because their friend has it or they grew up in the Middle East or Asia or Europe, and they're like, oh, I know what a bidet is. Click buy.
Yeah.
So those people are don't do as much research. Or some people see it as an impulse buy and they'll just buy it. But most people, they end up spending a little bit of time researching and what the benefits are. So most of our advertising is very, it's educational and laughter based. So we have a strategy in House. We just call it LOL, laugh or learn. So all of our ads, you have to, we want you to laugh and ideally and learn, but at least one of the two. Cool. So a lot of our ads will hook you with something funny and silly, but then you read it a little more closely. It's oh, here are all the benefits, or it's an influencer explaining the benefits, whether it's environmental benefit, cost saving benefit, hygienic benefit. There's a million benefits.
Cool.
We do the same thing, but we call it E&E, educate and entertain.
I like that.
But I like LOL.
E&E, LOL, okay.
Love the acronyms. It's perfect. So last questions before we break. I guess customer loyalty, right? So key thing, and when you talk about ratios, is retaining the customer, keeping them loyal, coming back for more. I guess how important that is to each of you guys, and I would assume for alcohol, it's you want them.
It's extremely important.
Yeah, and I guess what are the programs and types of retention methods you use?
We use Ojalvo for loyalty. It's been great, but what I realized is that over the past 6 months, we had issued over $1 million in loyalty points, and we barely had anybody using up those points. So we tried out some email, performed well, SMS performed well, but recently we did a whole direct mail campaign, but instead of just doing postcards, we actually sent little boxes out to our top 200 spenders that had loyalty points available and gave them 50 ml shooters and a gift card. And that was the best performing campaign we've ever done, period. Nice. And I'm really excited to test that out with larger audiences.
Very cool. Very cool. And
for us, we have a little bit of a tricky way to approach loyalty. We want a woman to enter their journey with us before they even begin trying to conceive. So they're kind of with us and understand our value proposition and our vitamins. We also don't want to disadvantage a customer if they're not able to get pregnant or if it takes them longer and they're not able to go through the journey with us. So we kind of don't want to build around that. And then after a woman gives birth and has their baby, we do want her to stay with us and kind of move through the rest of the products that are available. So for us, I mean, the biggest thing for us is really just education, and the best channel we have to educate her is through email. So it's just important for us to kind of understand different cohorts of users, different incentives for different cohorts at different stages of her life, and being really conscious of what product she's on or where she's been throughout her journey with us, so we can be really understanding and really knowledgeable on each customer and each cohort.
Cool. Then you use both like implicit and explicit data, like the survey is something they told you, but like what other kind of information do you get that like allows you to inform like who you're engaging with in educating versus?
Yeah, we do have surveys. We use our quiz. We ask a lot of questions in our quiz, so we know what products, where she said she is, what products we're recommending to her. We see what she's looking at, which PDPs and product pages she's going to and exploring, and we can see her customer journey. Maybe she's purchased with us before. Maybe she's ended her subscription. Maybe she's come back for her second child. So we try to kind of use triangulate using those different pieces of data.
Awesome.
0 and first.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, for Tushy, we always are reminding people that we exist. The good news is they see us every day on their toilet, so they're reminded that way. But then through SMS, email, and our newsletter, just kind of reminds them. And the goal there is, either they have that second bathroom or summer home, but more times than not, it's for gifting purposes. So we want, our newsletter to show up when you're like, oh yeah, I was looking for a gift for that friend, and we've become an extremely popular wedding gift and housewarming gift. And so, we just need to be reminded, because everyone's like, what racking their brains, what gift should I give? And so, and then our SMS shows up, or our newsletter shows up, and that's our basic strategy there, and so far so good.
Awesome. Well, I think we're right at time, so thank you so much for all your input today.
Thank you.
Super educational, loved it, and thanks for sharing with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.